Nowadays with Zoom, they give this message so that people know that the session is being recorded for privacy sake. Okay, welcome everybody to this session. And for the sake of, I see there are still people in this session who have not written their names in the chat box. And I want to repeat, if you don't write your name in the chat box, your attendance of this session will not be registered. And that means you will not receive your school report. So there are a number of people who haven't written their names in the chat box. I see Musta, Idi, you haven't written your name. HM Asalaf, you haven't written your name. Hamisi Togwa, you haven't written your name. Please write your names in the chat box because it's also part of learning the skills of how to use the Google, of the Zoom online tools. Okay, so yes, welcome. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Welcome to this session, and we hope that you leave the session with a better understanding of the NAMA Schools Index and especially your school report. Now, we are doing this session to give you some more information on your school reporting and what that report looks like. So only the people who are attending the session and whose names are in the chat box will receive their report. So I want you to take action and please be participating, and please make sure that your name is written in the chat box. Mr. Seleman is here from nice Tanzania. Mr. Seleman, do you want to say a few words?
Actually, I don't have much to say. I hope why we are saying that we are not going to share the report to those who are not attending to this, because we want, I mean, for everyone which is being given this reporting to get use of, I mean, to use it, not to only receive the report and then he or she don't know how to interpret it. That's why we are restricting your attendance, and then we need to notice who has attended on behalf of which school. So please, for those who has not, identified themselves, we need to, to know who you are and which school you are representing. And also we insist not to leave this meeting, because this is very important for your school, and also this is going, to give you the insight with what NAMA is doing in relation to, to what he's going to do in the future as far as your school is concerned. So you are representing, the most important part of your school and your organization as well. So I hope for those who are going to, to have a fluctuation with the internet, they will play their level best to stay online, so that he or she is going to, to get from start to the end. I
Thank you.
welcome. Yes, I welcome,
Thank you,
madam.
Mr. Telemann. And also, please, if you can keep an eye out, also help me to just look at who is here. And maybe you can also jot down some names for me, Mr. Telemann, just so that we don't, I know sometimes internet is a problem and some people might be struggling. So at least to see that you are here, we know that you've tried. As Mr. Telemann says, this purpose of this report is not just a piece of paper. It is for you to help you now take the next steps on what you can do to improve your school performance. And the session is going to help you to understand your report, because if you just look at it, it might look very confusing to you. And we are giving you only some sections of the report that we feel will help you and is important. But at the same time, we are here to help you. We have some of our assessors here with us today as well. Mr. Combo is here, as well as Madam Ajabu. They were both part of the assessment team. So please, you can also reach out to them if you have some issues or things that you don't understand. And I'm also available. to help, and so is the folks from NICE in Tanzania. So we are all here to be a resource for you and to help you. But let us start now with today's presentation. And at any time, you can ask questions, be active,
Recording in progress.
and make sure that your microphone is muted also, so that it doesn't interrupt the session. But if you want to say something, of course, you're welcome. And you can also use the chat box to write some questions. All right. So the objective of this session is that we will look at the key elements of the baseline report. And, you know, like a teacher always has to share the objectives of the session, in the same way we are sharing the objectives of this session as well. So I'm going to minimize this now so that yes, there we go. And also we will link the session to the NAMA indicators, and you will be given some practical strategies on how to plan for improvement. Because the purpose of the NAMA Foundation Index is not just to assess the level or performance of your school. It is also there for you to help you plan to achieve the next steps. And that is why we are sharing with you some of these tools today. Now, always, just as an aside, when your teachers are teaching and you're observing a lesson or you are looking at their lesson plans, you always have to look at whether they share with the students what they will be learning in the lesson and how they will know that they are successful, which means it is the learning objectives and success criteria. How will you know that you are successful in this session? What will you be able to do at the end of this session that will show you that you achieve the objectives? Let me quickly hear from you. So what do you think would be your success criteria for this session? How will you know that you are successful? What will you be able to do as a result of this session? Mr. Selemani, what do you think? Oh, Mr. Rashid, you want to share? Yes. Mr. Rashid? What will you be able to do at the end of this session? How will you know that you are successful? Okay, let's start the session. I will be able to do what? Come guys, you are principals and teachers. I'm sure you can help out here. The objective of this session is we will examine the key elements of the NAMA baseline report for your school, how to interpret the data shared, and what the next steps are for your school. At the end of the session, I will be able to do what? Ed, come. I'm not going to let this go. I want to get feedback from you. What will you be able to do?
Here I am.
Yes, Mr. Ali.
Okay, at the end of this session, I will be able to examine the key elements of the NAMA baseline report for my school and how to interpret the data shared and what will the next steps be for my school.
Excellent. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science, right? It's there. I will be able to analyze. I'll be able to see what are the key elements in this report. I will be able to understand or interpret the data that's shared with me, and I will be able to know, I will know what are the next steps that I have to do after receiving this report. So those are your success criteria as well. The objective to understand the NAMA report, your success criteria, what will you be able to do? What will you have learned? What can you explain? What can you do? What can you share? This is how a teacher also works with the students in the class, right? So today we are going to learn about the properties of metals. What for you to fully understand the properties of metals. What are the success criteria? I can identify 5 characteristics. I can list 10 kinds of metals. I can share 3 of this. I can give a definition of this. This is what we mean by lesson objectives and success criteria. So just a quick lesson for you. Okay, let's continue. Just minimize this. Okay. So what will you learn from your school's baseline report? So after this session, all the people that have attended will receive a PDF document that gives you an extract from your report. We're not giving you the full report, that's 10 pages. It's just too much. We believe these are the 3 important parts of the report that you will receive. The first part is the first page of your report, which is the overview. The second part will be the indicated data summary. And the last part is the written observation data. Please mute yourself if your microphones are on. It's difficult for me to every time go and mute people because it's distracting, right? So please make sure. Okay, so these are the 3 parts. Remember your objectives. You will be able to identify, understand the different parts of the report. You will be able to understand and analyze the data that will be shared with you. Now, data can come in different ways. Data can come in numbers, and data can also come in descriptions. So we can have quantitative data, which is our numbers, and qualitative data, which is our descriptions, the words that you are told, the areas of improvement. So those are 2 areas of data or kinds of data that you will get from this report. Now, to get to this report, we didn't just use one kind of data. During the observation, during the 2 days in your school, we looked at many, many different kinds of data. We did, if you recall, lesson observations. We did, let me just go back to the screen. We did lesson observations, we did learning walks, we looked at your school's documents, we had interviews with teachers, leaders, and also the students and the community members. We looked at surveys that came from the parents and the students. We looked at the physical learning environment. We also looked at your school's academic records and success. And we also did a learning walk where we looked at what was going on in the classroom. So we had many, many different kinds of data that informed the final result. Why did we do that? We call this, if you think of a triangle, the triangulation of data. If I look at something, let's say I do a lesson observation and the teacher is not having a really good day, the lesson is not very successful, I cannot say based on that one piece of data that teaching and learning in your school is bad. I also have to look at other things, the results of the students, the feedback from the students, the teachers planning. I must do learning walks. I must interview the teachers. So I get the truth from many different angles. And that means that the data that we come to in the end is very realistic because we have triangulated the data. So this is important, and this is why we had so many different activities when we came to your school. Do you all understand this concept of triangulating data? Can you put a 1 in the chat box if you understand, or a 2 if you don't understand? let's see in the chat box. Put a 1 for understanding and a 2 for if you don't understand. Okay, Mr. Hassan, yes, good. Mr. Ali, yes. Mr. Salem, yes. Selemani, yes. What about the rest? Are you 2s or are you 1s? Mr. Azizi, yes. Mr. Hussein, 2. Mr. Hussein needs some help. Mr. Hussein, you pick any one of these people that have said a 1 and let them explain to you what it means. Please, you are supposed to be supporters of each other. So please, I need somebody to help Mr. Hussein to understand triangulation of data a little bit better. But I didn't get feedback from everybody. I didn't hear from Mr. Muhammad. I didn't hear from Mr. Musa. Please, I need you all, Mr. Mark, please, I need you all to participate in this session. Great. Mr. Mark also needs some help. So there are 2 people that need help, and this is wonderful. I'm very proud of you for saying you don't understand. Now, that might sound weird, right? We want always to hear, yes, I understand. But if you are reflective and if you really take ownership of your own learning, you will say, no, I don't understand. That's much better than saying yes, but not understanding, right? Do you agree with that? Yeah. So in your classroom, in your school, we must encourage the children to, and the teachers to allow the students to say, I don't understand. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumb on the side. I understand somewhat. I don't understand. I understand fully. Or you can do fist to 5. How do you understand it? 5, 100%. 4, 80%. 3, 60%. 2, 40%. 1, 20%. If you see the student showing 1, you should say, fantastic, I'm so proud of you, because you are thinking about your own learning. And we have to encourage this. We call this assessment for learning practices. So thank you very much to Mr. Mark and also to Mr. Hussein for sharing that you don't understand. And I want somebody in this group to help them and take responsibility to teach them. Who's going to help them? Come, I want a name in the chat box. Let me see. I still don't have a name in the chat box. Who's going to help them? I'm waiting. Who's offering to help them? Give them an explanation of triangulation. Mr. Hassan, I didn't see your response. I didn't see a 1 or a 2 from you.
Hello, can I chip in?
Yes, please, Mr. Seleman.
Yeah, maybe simply triangulation means, integrating more than one source of data, and more than one part of evidence or source of data, so that you can validate each other. You can prove from the difference. So simply, maybe in Swahili, ni pale ambapo unapokuwa una taarifa za labda walimu, unataka kuzihakiki na taarifa, je, zile za walimu zinawiana na za wazazi, zinawiana na viongozi, zinawiana na za wadau wengine, ili ukitaka kufanya maamuzi una njia moja. So this is simply what it means by triangulation.
Fantastic. Now, do you understand better, Mr. Mark, Mr. Hussein? You have a better understanding?
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So yeah, that's great. So thank you so much. And I think sometimes an explanation in Swahili helps, right? So that's also feel free at any time to jump in and explain that in Swahili. You are so much better than me because you speak 2 languages so well. So congratulations. Okay, so these are the 3 things that you will get in your report. And I will delve a little bit deeper into this just now. Now, in this slide deck that you will receive, And this is the fourth session. So I have shared this in all the previous 4 sessions with the NAMA schools, school leaders who have it, the previous 3 sessions. But those of you who are attending for the first time today, please make sure that you follow up on the previous sessions and that you have, that you look at watch the videos that we have shared of the sessions, because we have discussed many different aspects of the NAMA index, what you can do, how you can improve. And also some of you are part of the coaching groups with Madam Ajabu and also with Mr. Combo and Madam Saumu. And please, if you haven't participated in those groups, this is your chance to learn and don't give that chance away. So please reach out to these people if you haven't participated so that they can see how they can help you. So if you click on this folder, it will open the NAMA index rubric for you. And remember, don't go, oh, my eyes, I can't see. Just press the plus button and it will enlarge and you will see everything, all the detail of the NAMA index here in this document. All right, so this is what we've done. You just click on it like magic and it opens this document. Right, so let us continue. So I have shared with you a little quiz. I don't know who of you, I hope most of you have done this. Let us quickly see. We've had 11 responses, fantastic. And we've had 2 people who had 10 out of 10. And we have some mistakes somewhere. And it doesn't matter if you are wrong. It is what you are learning from your mistakes that matter. So I will put for you again the link to this quiz in the chat, so that for those of you that haven't done it, it only takes like 2 minutes for you to do it. Let's just quickly scroll up. I'll find the link and I'll share the link with you again. So that you can do this. And at the end, I'm going to give you the this slide deck so that you can do this with your heads of department at your school, and you can let them also do the quiz. Now, again, like magic, you just click on the link and it takes you to the quiz. And by the way, if any of you want to learn how to do this magic, we have a wonderful resource here in our midst, and that's Mr. Combo. He is fantastic at doing this online assessments and how to do this kind of thing. So if you want to learn how to do this, just ask him and he will share. Mr. Combo, am I right? Will you help? Maybe you can give a short little session and teach people how to do it. Where is Mr. Combo now? I think maybe his internet has dropped. But you can reach out to him or even to Madam Majabu. Or, I mean, if you want me to do a session with you, I can also do that to teach you how to do this. All right, so let's continue. So let us now look at this first sheet of your report. Right, so when you look at this sheet, you will see that there are different things that you can look at that will give you some information. You'll see I closed up the names of the schools so that we can anonymize this, because we promise that we will not share any of the information between schools. This is not a competition. This is not where we will say this is the top school or the number 1 school. This is only a competition with yourself. And this data will be known to NAMA, because NAMA Foundation will be looking at which schools are improving against the baseline, which schools are demonstrating that they are taking action to improve, because those are the schools that will get more support from the NAMA Foundation. Obviously, schools that are doing nothing, and if the next assessment happens next year and your scores are just the same, why would the NAMA Foundation give you any more support? But schools that are taking action, schools that are improving, schools that are really making an effort to improve against their baseline scores, you know, the more you do, the more you will receive. Okay, so what do you see on this? This first table that you will see is your dimension scores. There are 4 domains that we look at, right? The first one is school life. The second one is learning success. The third one is the school culture and values. And the fourth one is parent and community engagement. So there are four domains: school life, learning success, culture and values, parent and community engagement. These are 4 areas that are very important for any school to improve and to grow and be successful. And in each of these 4 domains, there are dimensions. So that means, what are we looking at inside of this area, this domain? So for school life, for learning success, and for culture and values, we look at students, teachers, and leaders. So that's why we have school life students, school life teachers, school life leaders. And that's where the abbreviations come from. So school life teachers will be S for school, L for life, and T for teachers, SLT. School life students, SLS. School life leaders, SLL. That's what the abbreviations in the report means. And then under the dimension of community and parent participation, we looked at parents, community, and the foundations that support the school. But in future, we are going to remove that indicator and put it elsewhere. So don't worry about that dimension moving forward. All right, so let's continue. The graph gives you a breakdown, a visual representation of your school's performance. Now, you know there are 4 performance bands. Band 1 is the lowest band, but it doesn't mean you are a failure if your school is in band 1. It means that you are just starting out. Yes, maybe you don't even know about these things, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is just the reality. This is where you are now. The second band means you are starting to develop, you're starting to implement, but maybe only part of the thing is there, or maybe it's only with some teachers, or maybe it's not across the whole school. So that's band 2. Band 3 means you have achieved the standard. So band 3 is the standard that NAMA is expecting you to achieve. Band 3, acquired, achieved the standards. And then band 4 means you have excelled. You are going beyond the expectations. Your school, even, let's say, for example, they expect you to have these 4 clubs, but you have 10. I mean, you have done so much more. Instead of just working in the community, your school participates across the whole nation. You know, so you do so much more than what is expected of you. And these bands are explained in the NAMA index very clearly. So if you go back and you push the magic button and you look at the NAMA index, you will see that these descriptors, these levels that I'm talking about, let's make it bigger, is described here for you. So we have limited, developing, achieved, and exemplary, which means you have exceeded the standard, right? So in the first level, so here we have the dimension. We have the dimension. This is the domain, school life, the dimension, students, the descriptor or indicator that is within this dimension. And then it tells you at limited level, this is what we see. At developing level, this is what we see. At achieved level, this is what we see. And at exemplary level, this is what we see. Now, for you to get level 2 means everything that is written there must be fully achieved. If you have only 2 out of the 4, or even 3 out of the 4, you will still not be level 2. You will only still be level 1. So to be level 2, you must achieve all of these things that are written here. To be level 3 means you must achieve everything that comes before and all of these to be in level 3. Level 4, everything that happens before and what is described here in level 4. That's how it happens. So you might think when you read your results that, hey, hang on, I do this one thing. That doesn't mean you are level 2. It means all of the things written in level 2 must be evident in the school. And what do we mean by evident? It means that it's not enough for you to say, okay, we are at level 2. So let me just get back to this presentation. It's not enough. You can't just say, oh, but we've done this one thing. You must be able to demonstrate it. In many cases, we found that when we interviewed the schools, they could talk about the things they do. Oh, yes, we do this with the community. Oh, yes, we do this. But there's no evidence. There's no record. There's no calendar. There's no feedback. There's no photographs. There's no plan. So this is something that will be very quick for you to fix. And let me tell you a big secret. It's very easy to move from level 1 to level 2. So if you are at level 1, and some of you, you'll see when you look at your marks, you are like at 1.8. It means you're almost in level 2. You only maybe have to do one more thing, or maybe 2 more things, or just put the documents together, or just make some plan, or do something small, and it's going to move you into level 2. So it's not so difficult. It becomes more difficult to move from level 2 to level 3. And from level 3 to level 4, of course, it becomes more difficult as you move in time. And please, at any time, if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask, okay? All right, so let's go back. That is your domain score, your domain. This is your dimensions, and this is the average of that domain. So inside the domain, we have the different dimensions: school life students, school life teachers, school life leaders, and the average for the dimension, for the domain is 1.6. Now, you will notice that in most of the schools, school life, the students seem to perform much better than the teachers and the leaders. In most cases, the school life scores for this, or the scores for the students, is higher than the scores for the teachers or the leaders. And that says something to us, right? So it's important for you to look at all of this. The data is here. And then when you move down, you will see we have identified the different domains and dimensions, which are the strengths and the areas for improvement. So you can look at this button to see what are the things that you should be looking at urgently next in your school when you are planning your school improvement plan. And then we gave a synopsis or a summary or an overview of what is going well in the school And then what are suggestions for the leaders, for the teachers, for the students, and the parents? Now you have to remember that this is just a summary. It doesn't contain every fact that we saw, because that would be too long, right? And it doesn't mean that we've actually seen everything. It could be that there are still some things that you haven't seen, or that the assessors didn't see. They were only there for 2 days. Sometimes the documentation wasn't done correctly. Sometimes the documentation is not there. So it's important for you to realize that, it's also not a perfect system, but that's why we did triangulation. So to look at the data from different directions. Okay, so the next one that you will get is your indicator data summary sheet. Now, this gives you more detail. Here you will see much more information. Here we have broken down each individual indicator, dimension and indicator, the score for that specific indicator, and some comments. So here you can now start looking at your data and you can see, okay, well, I need to target everything that's under 1. Let me leave the ones that are above 1 alone for the moment. Let me look at the ones under 2 and let me see, let me focus on those indicators so that I can look at my school improvement plan. Leave the ones that are in 2. But of course, if all your indicators are in 2, you will then again look at the ones with the lowest scores. You will go to the NAMA rubric. You will see, okay, so let's say, for example, student life students, SLS1 is 1.7. What does that mean for me? So you go to your NAMA school, your rubric, you look at the indicator, just scroll down, you look at the student life, school life, here we go. Let me just figure again. So school life, 1, engage in extracurricular activities and school events to develop talent. Your school scored 1.7, which means you haven't achieved all of the targets for number 2. So it means there's not enough opportunities for your students to participate outside of the classroom. And this was a problem we saw in many of the schools. There are no clubs, there are no structured activities. They only focus on schoolwork. And this is what the students are writing in their feedback as well. Do you have sports clubs? Do you have competitions with other schools? Do you develop the talent, the leadership talents of your students? So that is a big problem for many schools. So then you'll say, okay, I'm at 1.7, which means some of these things are there, but it's not done efficiently. So I need to look at, what does it look like when I've achieved this? What does a 3 look like? And I'm now at 1. So is it realistic for me to work towards a 2, or do I think I can actually even work towards a 3? Create clubs in your school. Put a policy there for student participation. Look at a calendar of events for your students. Do a lot of things to ensure that the students are participating in academic, culture, and sporting events. There's a range of extracurricular activities or extramural activities, not only in the school, but in the local community. Students can identify their own talents. It's not just 3 or 4 students who belong to the chess club. It's every student has the opportunity to participate in all of these activities. And you can even look at what 4 looks like. So you will see that in 4, it really is students are taking ownership and leading this national competitions. They take it's even international competition. So that's what level 4 looks like. Let me get some feedback from you before we continue. Do you understand now the link between your report, the score you get on your report, and the NAMA index? Can you write a number 1 in the chat box if you understand, and a 2 if you don't understand? Please write a 1 or a 2 in the chat box. Let's see. Right. I see ones. I see ones. That's excellent. Don't be shy to say 2. We can help. We can support you. Look at who is saying 1. They are all your resources who can help you in interpreting and using the NAMA index. Fantastic. I haven't heard from everybody. There are some people who still haven't written, but many of you have. Well done. So let us continue. And please, at any time, you can write a question in the chat box, or you can also just ask, switch on your microphone and you can share your question. Okay, so this is your second part of your report. So this one gives you much more detail. The first sheet is a summary. The second sheet gives you more detail. And there's also more information about strengths and areas for improvement. So on the first page, you have some. On the second page, it's even more information, for you. So what should you do? You should read the notes. You should look at the scores and find which are your highest, which are your lowest. Now, this is my one hint for you. You cannot fix everything immediately. And sometimes if you set a goal for yourself, you can actually capture more than one of the indicators, right? So let's say, for example, you got a low score for student engagement outside of the classroom. But you put together a program where students can help the community members with their literacy skills. So you get some students who go into the community to teach some of the young children or some of the older people who cannot read or write, and they go and teach them. They do some literacy lessons, right? So, I mean, high school students can definitely teach how to read. You know, they can teach the alphabet, they can read to young children, they can read, or they can do something, right? So that means you have, if you do that, you will hit SL, student life students 1, student life students 2, as well as the community indicators, because the students are doing something for the community. And you will also hit the culture and values indicators, because it is good for the values of the students to give something to the community. So by one goal, you can sometimes target more than one indicator. It doesn't just sit in fences, right? It sometimes one action can improve a lot of things in your school. Okay, the last sheet that you have, and we gave you this detailed one because we feel this is at the heart of everything that happens in the school, right? So this is the lesson observation data, because you can have all the policies, you can talk about everything, but at the end of the day, what is the quality of teaching and learning in your school? Because that is ultimately what this is all about, right? Of course, that and the holistic development of the child, getting those 21st century skills of communicating, collaborating, critical thinking, creativity, their own character development. Those are the C's of the 21st century. And you cannot just do that in the classroom. But this is very important data for us, because this is something you can definitely do something about. So we gave you the lesson observation scores, and in most schools we observed 6 teachers. In some schools, not that many, which was not so good for your school, because that reflects badly on the organization, on the leadership, if that wasn't possible for us to do. But in any case, So when you look at this data, you will see that I've anonymized the names of the teachers, right? Because we don't want to see that. We will see that we have the pedagogies that we are looking at. So the pedagogical skills that that we are targeting, that we believe are essential for developing the students, not only their academic scores, but also their scores, their, you know, many of the skills, right? So these are the pedagogies. This list at the top is the link to the NAMA index. So you'll see LST1. Can you remember what that is? LST1. Quickly write in the chat box. What does it mean? What does LST1 stand for? Let's see who's the first person who can write that for us. LST. What does that stand for? Let me see. Who's the first one who's going to answer that question? I'm waiting. LST. What does that stand for? Quickly write in the chat box. Yes, Mr. Ali, Maximat Ali, first one to answer correctly. Learning success teachers. Well done. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Hussein, well done. Also, fantastic. I'm happy to see your, and Mr. Hassan, thank you. S stands for students, T stands for teachers, learning success teachers, right? Excellent. Okay. Now, here, if you look across, you will see the teacher's score. If you look on the side, it's the average that they achieved. And we've shown the strengths and the areas for development of the individual teacher. And if you look down, you will see what is the school's average for lesson observations. At the bottom, you will see the average for the different pedagogies. So if you look at this particular sheet, we will see 1.3, 1.8, 1.2, 1.8, 2.2. So this one is a little bit better. 2.5 and 2.7 are the highest scores. So sound curriculum knowledge. The teachers have a good understanding of the curriculum. 2.5, there's generally good classroom management. And there is some evidence that the students are working together or collaborating in the lesson. But the lowest one is self and peer assessment. If you look across, not one of the teachers had any evidence that they used self or peer assessment. So the second lowest one that we have here is differentiation, 1.2. There we will see, and also use of resources and media, and learning objectives and success criteria. So when you now look at this will help you to decide what are you first going to target when you are looking at improving the pedagogy of your teachers. But in general, most of the pedagogical areas are low. Even the ones in 2, even 2.7, yes, that is a high one. But for the rest, all of this could do with attention, especially each one that's under 2. Now, if you look across at the teacher, you can also see which of your teachers in order is most in need of support. And we have here a teacher who has a 1.4 score. And this teacher got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the areas scored 1. So this teacher, if I'm the principal, would say, this teacher is in need of a special support plan. Now, I can also look at the teachers who got 3s in some of the areas, which is fantastic. So we have a teacher here who scored a 3 for cooperative learning and collaboration. this teacher who got a 3, there's 2 of them, I have to go and observe these teachers again. And I have to ask myself, what have they done? What skills do they have? How can I use them to become coaches of my other teachers? The second part of your lesson observation data will show you the link to the rubric, right? So this lesson observation data, as you see here, informs your lesson, your NAMA rubric. And you will see that in general, again, the students are outperforming the teachers, right? So that's a trend that we saw generally. Here we say, what are the strengths? What are the areas for improvement? And some general comments. So you can read this and you can look at this. Now, what do you do? What are you going to do about this? Well, the tools that we use to get to these scores are the lesson observation tool. And again, I made my magic. If you click on it, it will take you to the lesson observation tool. Here we have those different strategies or pedagogies that we look at. Here are the bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, and comments. So what you can do is you can use this lesson observation rubric to conduct some lesson observations in your school. We've added one box for formative purposes, which means we didn't do this in our baseline, but you can do this after the lesson observation to have an interview with a teacher. How did you feel it went? You can give feedback. The teacher can discuss, and you can make some actions for the teacher on what they can do to improve. So this is your lesson observation form. And then the second thing that we looked at to support, or that we used, how do we get these bands? Band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4. We have a wonderful tool, and this is the rubric. Now this rubric, again, the magic is there. Click on it and it takes you to the rubric. So this rubric tells you how to give the scores for your students, for your teachers. But remember, to get a 2, everything must be there. To get a 3, everything must be there. And also what is in level 2. So, you know, I've done everything in 2 and everything in 3. To get 4, everything in 3 and everything in 4 to get a 4. So that will help you. And we have given you bullet points, all the different things that the teachers need to do. This will help you, because this will help you when you develop some professional development training, workshops for your teachers, so that they can understand what they have to do. So go back to your scores, go back to your school's report and look at your scores. See, where is your average? Where are you in terms of the rubric? If you are in level 1, even if it's 1.7, it means only some of this is evident. I must now make sure that all my teachers do at least all of these things in the next level. That's how you work towards using this rubric. We've got the descriptors for every one of these pedagogies that we've looked at. If we look at 21st century student skills, for example, there's no chance for the students to develop these skills. Think of the C's: critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, and also character. There's no opportunity for the students to share their views, to practice their thinking skills, to collaborate, to communicate, whether it's by voice, whether it's demonstrating it by writing, whether it is designing things, building things, making things. There's no opportunity. The teacher speaks most of the time, at least 70% of the lesson. The teacher is just talking. And the students have no it's the teacher that decides everything. The teacher that is controlling everything that happens in the classroom. But at level 2, this teacher talk is reduced to about 50% of the lesson. So students have some opportunities to work independently. The teacher talks less. The students are given some opportunities to make their own decisions. And this is how the rubric works from level 1. You will see when we say in level 3, we are talking, looking at about 30% teacher talk. And in the final level, the teacher talks less than 30% of the lesson. So that's how the rubric will guide you in making these decisions. So your next steps to review your school's performance against these descriptors. And very important, to ensure that this rubric, these standards, this lesson observation, the forms that we are used are included in your school's teaching and learning policy. You need to have a teaching and learning policy for your school. Now, the beautiful thing here is that NAMA is giving you permission. You can use these tools that I've shared to include this in your teaching and learning policy. So what do you put in this policy? What is the vision of your school? What are your expectations for your teachers? What do you expect to see in every lesson? But of course, added to this will be the marking policy, marking of books, when must they do their lesson preparation, when do they give their lesson plans in, who looks at their lesson plans, what resources. It's not just this, you can add more to this. But you need to have this, and your teachers need to know what is expected of them. This is put in your teaching and learning policy. And in this policy, you add your lesson observation rubric, your if you have a standard template for lesson plans, you put that in. Anything, any rule, any arrangement, any policy, any description of what teachers should be doing in the classroom must be in your teaching and learning policy. And the second policy that you need is a staff performance management policy, which means if the teachers are not doing what they are doing, what's the consequences? How do teachers improve? What is your expectation of teachers' performance, not only in the classroom, but also in the school-like teachers, the culture, the values, culture and values of the teachers, participation in the community, and then when will you set the targets? What forms will you use? What will happen if they don't meet the expectations? What are the consequences? But also, what are the rewards for teachers who are doing well? That comes in your teaching and your staff performance management policy. How will you measure their performance? How often will you measure their performance? Who will measure their performance? How will you report their performance? This comes in your teaching, in your staff performance management policy. But in that policy, you will refer to the teaching and learning policy, because those are the standards for teaching and learning in the classroom. I hope this is clear to you. And we have given some support to our coaches in helping with this development of policies. The second thing you can do to develop or get an understanding of what is going on in the classrooms is doing a learning walk. Now, the learning walk means you only spend 5 to 7 minutes maximum looking at a class. And you try to do this as many times as possible. Not just you, your heads of department, even some lead teachers in your school, your academic master, whoever are people that are looking at the quality of teaching and learning. This is just an example of what we use during the NAMA index. We've changed it slightly. We've taken out some of these areas afterwards. But when you do your learning walks, you would maybe focus only on one area and break that down. So for example, if you were to say, okay, we're only going to look today if the teachers have learning objectives and success criteria in their classrooms. Is it written on the board? Is it shared with the students? Do they check at the end of the lesson? So if you go at the beginning of the lesson, first 5-7 minutes, you will check how does the teacher share this with the students. Is it written down? Do they focus on the success criteria? Do they clearly tell the students what they will be learning in the lesson? If you go at the end of the lesson, you will look at, did the teacher refer back to the success criteria? Is there student self and peer assessment, either with an exit ticket, with a graphic organizer, using maybe a cooperative learning strategy, maybe the students have to do a quick mind map. How does the teacher know that the students achieve the success criteria of the lesson? So that's, maybe you will only look at that one thing. Maybe then another time you will look at assessment for learning practice, which means we are looking at whether the students are, whether the teacher is giving the student the opportunity to check for their understanding during the lesson. So, you know, what are you doing? Are you using a cooperative learning strategy? Are you doing things like take off touchdown? Are you using mini whiteboards? Are you using thumbs? Are you using traffic lights? Are you using fist to 5? How do you know that the students understand concepts during the lesson? Or at the beginning of the lesson, what do they know already from before? It's no use teaching the children what is an apple if they already know what an apple is. You're going to bore them. If no use teaching them the kinds of clouds if they already know it. So you have to check their understanding at the beginning or at the end or in the middle of the lesson. So you will maybe form a learning walk template that only focuses on assessment for learning. And what will you do? You'll go around, you'll say, okay, 1, I see nothing. 2, maybe I can see once that the teacher used thumbs, but for the rest of the time, nothing. 3 means, yeah, there's good evidence. I've seen they've used at least 2 or 3 different kinds, or I can see it on the board, or I can see it in the students' work, or I see evidence of them using this. I can see it, I can hear it. And a 4 means, wow, it blows your mind. This teacher doesn't just do the normal thing. They've got their own strategies that they've also included in the classroom. And then you'll give them a 4, you'll add up the totals, and that will tell you the distribution of marks. Now, the important thing is that you cannot do this if you only see 5 lessons, because you only go for 5 minutes. So it only gives you a small bit. A learning walk only works if you have seen about 50 lessons, 50 to 80 lessons. That means if you do 5 a day for 2 weeks, it means you will have 50. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it yourself. You must distribute. Let your heads of department do the learning walks. And if you use Google Forms on your mobile phone, the data will be automatically calculated. So that's another session we can help you with if you need help. This gives you good ideas of the ongoing practice in your school. Because if you do a lesson observation, maybe the teacher prepares specially just for you. But if you're constantly walking around, looking at what is going on in your classrooms, the more of this data you have, the better you will understand what's happening in your school, right? So, and try to go at different times. Don't always go at the beginning of the lesson. Don't always go at the end of the lesson. That will also be interesting for you when you are analyzing the data. And you must know that as school leaders, you have a very important task, right? It's your role to lead the learning and to embed a learning culture in the school. And I'm afraid to say that overall, the scores were in ones when it came to the role of school leaders. So I really want to encourage you to look at this. You know, have you got a teaching and learning policy? Have you made it very clear to the teachers what is expected of them? Do you model this when you are teaching? Are you demonstrating that you are a leader, introducing new things, sharing articles, talking about learning constantly when you discuss with the teachers? Is learning at the forefront of everything you do in the school? Do you monitor the teachers? You know, do you have data that shows that you do learning walks, lesson observations? Do you have professional learning communities in your school? Do you have data? What do you do with this? How do you do this? How do you use that data? And the third one is leading staff professional development. It doesn't mean you yourself have to prepare or provide the training, but you lead this. You make sure there's a good plan, there's a calendar, there's data that says what your school needs, who's going to present it, how are you going to get them to use this in the classroom. This is your role as a school leader. Right. Been talking so much. We're going to have Q&A just now. What
Sorry,
should
madam.
we know? Yes, sure.
Sorry, there are some people waiting on the
Again, oh my goodness, I'm constantly letting people into the, and some people are only joining now, you know, I haven't seen them before in the session. It's a pity they're only joining now. Okay, thank you, Mr. Seleman. All right. So what should you do when you return to school? So after this, Mr. Seleman is going to email you the PDF report of your school. Everybody who is in the session will receive the report. So Mr. Seleman, just check carefully, right, that you have all the names. Have you got all the names, Mr. Seleman?
Actually, not all have written their names, but what I'll do, I have not the one which I have not identified, and then I'll ask after.
Yeah. So I want to just make this very, very clear to all of you, and that is that you must make sure your name and your school name is written in the chat box, because some of you have a strange name on your phone, iPhone, Techno, come on, I don't know. We don't know who you are. So if we don't know who you are, Techno Pop, I don't know who that is. You have to write your name in the chat box, else you are not going to get your school report. Okay, is that clear to all of you? We cannot know who is Technopop 2 plus. Who is this? I see you are smiling. Yes? Who is this? Please share your name. Unmute yourself and tell us who you are. Or write in the chat box, please. The same for Techno. Come on. Don't know who this is. Ask to start video. Let's see who you are. Please make sure your names are in the chat box. Don't come afterwards and say, but I was there, and we don't know who you are. Please. And write your school name, because we're not always sure from which school you are. Okay, so let's go back to what must you do next. Let me just, I took a picture. I'm just going to put it here in the chat box. Okay. Right. So let's go back to our session. You will review the data in your report carefully, and you will read the suggestions for improvement. And then you will choose at least one dimension in each domain to focus on. What do I mean by that? If you go back to your NOMA report, This is the domain. All of this domain consists of dimensions, students, teachers, and leaders. You choose at least one dimension in each domain to focus on. So you must set a target around school life, around teaching and learning, around school culture and values, and around community engagement. But sometimes, as I said, one goal can actually cover many different dimensions, but at least something in each of the domains. You must have a target in your school improvement plan. And then, let's just go back to develop a clear, smart target for your school improvement plan. And then develop an action plan, because a goal without action is a dream. You can say, oh, we want to improve, da, 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 da. How? If you don't have a detailed action plan. And even an action plan means nothing if it's not done and monitored. So this is your job. You cannot fix everything at once. So decide, what will you focus on for the next 6 months? Or if you want to do it until July next year, or if you want to do a 2-year plan, that's also fine. What exactly will you focus on? But you cannot do everything. You cannot look at 32 indicators at the same time. It's impossible. You have to choose the areas you want to improve. And then you must set an action plan. And you must make sure that you have those policies in place in your school. Because when NAMA does the next impact assessment beginning of next year, they're going to look at the baseline and they're going to see if you have improved against the baseline. It's not for NAMA, it's for your students, it's for your school, it's for your teachers that you are doing this. You're not doing it for NAMA. That's not the purpose. But the benefit for you is if NAMA sees that you are doing this, that there is some improvement, of course there will be more benefits for your school, right? And I've given you an example. This is not a complete plan. I just gave some examples here. So let's say I'm targeting learning success, and my target will impact on a number of areas. I'm trying to mute Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali, can you mute yourself for some other reason? Okay, there we go. Right. So what's my goal? Now, your goal must be SMART, means specific, measurable. What does that mean? Specific. Sometimes we say, I want to improve teaching and learning in my school. That's not specific. What part of teaching and learning do you want to improve? You want to improve specific skills of the teachers? You want to improve student results in a particular area? I have given very broad school targets, and the school target then gets broken down into departmental targets. But if your target is to ensure that the quality of teaching improve with lesson observation scores achieving an average of 2.5 by June 2022. Okay, let's say my score is 1.7 now. I want the average to be 2.5, which means all of the pedagogical areas will be included. You can change this target. You can say, I want to focus on cooperative learning and differentiation in the classes. Be specific. It is achievable. Is it measurable? Yes, because I'm saying it must achieve an average of 2.5. It's measurable. Is it achievable? Yes, you can move from 1.7 to 2.5. It's not impossible. I didn't say 3.5. That's not possible. but I made it an achievable target. Is it relevant? Is it important? Yes, it's important that the skills of the teachers improve. It's so important. I'm not saying all teachers will wear a specific uniform to school. That's not going to change the teaching and learning standards. I'm going to paint all the classes blue. That's not going to improve. I mean, that's not an important target. But it's important that the teacher's pedagogical skills improve, right? Is it time bound? Yes, I said by June 2022. It's just an example, right? It's not the one that you should follow necessarily. Now I've broken this down in key actions and milestones. A milestone, by when will it be done and measured? So the first thing I will do, revise the school teaching and learning policy to include the NAMA index standards and also the staff performance management policy. That's the first thing I'm going to do. By when? End of July. Who will lead this? The principal and the heads of department. What's the evidence? I will have the revised policy documents. The second thing, conduct lesson observations of all teachers using the NAMA lesson observation form and rubric. Because I only in my report see 6 teachers. I need to look at all my teachers. By when? End of July. Who will do it? Principal and heads of department. What will be my evidence? The lesson observation data. The forms completed, the data entered on a spreadsheet. I will have the data. Third thing, conduct learning walks for 2 weeks, 5 teachers per day. So I will have 50 data points by mid-August. Who will do it? The staff, the heads of department, sorry, this thing shifted a bit. Heads of department and lead teachers. I'm just making up things. You decide who will do it. Even better if you put names of people in your plan. And what evidence? Learning walk data. I will use a Google form. The data will be there. And then the fourth thing I will do is I will analyze the results and identify the areas for improvement for the whole school and also for individual teachers. By mid-August, this will be done by the staff CPD team. You will have a team of teachers and leaders who work on school improvement because we want to delegate responsibility. You'll see it's not just all the principals' work. And what's the evidence? I will have a report, a data analysis report that tells me these 3 areas are the weakest. These 2 areas are the strongest. These are the teachers who are overall the strongest. These are the teachers overall the weakest. This is the strength of these teachers. This is the weakest area to focus on. That's what you want to see in that report. Then after I have that report, I will make a CPD, continuous performance development or professional development plan for the next year. This is the training the teachers need. This is when we will do it. This is who will do it. This is the PLCs we will have. This is how we are going. You have to put that in your plan, right? The evidence, CPD program and calendar. Then the next step, individual teacher performance targets are set. After you've done this comprehensive lesson observations and the learning walks, each teacher gets their targets for the next year. This is described in your performance management policy, the form that you will use where teachers will set their targets for improvement. Then I will start the CPD. So by the first week of September, we will start our first professional development training course. What's the evidence? CPD attendance data, feedback data, the materials that were used for that training. Next thing, I will continue with monthly learning walks and targeted lesson observations by HODs. So now you set in your policy, HODs, head of department, how many lessons do you have to observe in a month? 1 lesson, 2 lessons, 3 lessons. How many learning walks must you do? And you will gather that data. Every month you'll have a meeting or the CPD team has a meeting and share with you the results. So it's detailed. The next thing, Okay, then it brings us to December or November. November, we're going to do the year-end formal observations of all teachers, and we will compare the data from the July assessment to this November assessment. And then the circle continues. Set new targets for the teachers. Set improvement plans for the teachers that are not improving. Identify what the teachers, adapt my CPD plan accordingly. And this is the way until July 2022, when you want to be sure that you've achieved the 2.5 average target. And you will share this data with the teachers. Oh, our average has gone up to 1.9. Our average is now 2.3. And if you achieve it, celebrate the teachers that are doing really well. Let them become coaches of the teachers who are not doing well. Use your professional learning communities. So this is what we want to see. At the end, after looking at your data, we want 4 goals as a minimum. 1 around learning success, 1 around teaching, around school life, 1 goal around culture and values, 1 goal around parent and community engagement. As a minimum, you can have more goals. That's up to you how much you want to achieve. So this is what you should be doing. This is how you will use your data. This is how you will analyze your data. And this is what you will do with your school baseline report. So do you remember the success criteria? You will understand the data. You will know what your next steps are in terms of the data. You'll be able to understand the different elements of this report. Can you tell me, would you be able to do this? Can you write 1 or 2 in your chat, in the chat box? 1 for I can do it, I can achieve it, and 2 for I am not sure. Can you please write in the chat box? Great. I see lots of ones. I see lots of ones. That is fantastic. So now is the time for you to ask your questions, to give your comments, to give your feedback. We have 10 minutes for a quick question and answer session. Excellent. Yes. Let me hear if you have some questions, if you have some feedback, if this was helpful to you, do you understand it better? Do you know what you have to do next? Or if you have any question, this is your chance. Now, use this time. Don't be shy. You are heads of school. You are leaders. So I want to see that leadership coming out and with you discussing and sharing. There's silence. Mr. Ali Issa, I'm going to now start asking for volunteers. Mr. Ali, how did you find the session? And do you think it is all very clear to you now what you need to do?
Yeah, I'm almost clear because we have some of this session like this one from Brother Combo. So I hope now we just add some more fruits on us. And we have started even some of the activities regarding on Rubric, and on Wednesday we have a session to discuss with the head of department regarding the matter. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And I know, Mr. Ali, that you've been taking a lot of action in terms of the training, leading learning in your school. And I want to congratulate you. I know you've been leading sessions, you are monitoring teachers. Congratulations, Mr. Ali. I'm sure your school will just go from strength to strength moving forward. You are also actively participating in the coaching sessions, and also you've sent your teachers for the teacher training. So no, this is definitely what a school leader should be doing. And for sure, if this continues in January or in your next evaluation, your school is for sure going to do so much better, and I will definitely see the improvement. So well done and keep it up. Anybody else who would like to share?
Sorry, can we include the unachievable plan that we have attended to achieve? But if not yet, we can include in the next plan, improvement plan.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand your question, Ms. Wamisi. Are you saying, can you use your existing plan?
I said, if we didn't achieve a certain goal in the previous improvement plan, can we include such goals in the next improvement plan?
Yes, I mean, if you haven't achieved your previous goal, then for sure, I mean, it is about moving forward, right? So it is about the next step. So if you didn't achieve it previously, then of course you will look at the data, you will evaluate, and you will set a new plan for yourself, and you can include that previous target that you might not have achieved. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
No?
Yes, Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Abdallah, can you please mute your phone? Okay, right. Mr. Mohammed? Yes.
Thank you for your session. I've enjoyed much the issue of learning works, especially in the class when you are going to see the teacher teaching the student to observe a lot of things which is conducted in the class. Therefore, what I want from you is just to send the whole session because we are late in attending the session. Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, you will all, thank you, Mr. Mohammed. You will all receive the session, the slides of the session. Mr. Seleman will share this with you. And I will also share the recording of the session.
Yes, madam. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, on this wonderful session, I would like to thank you for your nice presentation, and we really enjoyed it, and you have no idea how much we are very successful, understood the lesson, and for sure we're going to implement it. Thank you.
That's very good. Thank you for your feedback, and I appreciate that. And you know, we are here to help you, right? So we are lending a hand to you of help. And you know, I think that the teachers, the leaders who've been sending their teachers to the training, they can also testify that we are there to help. We are there to support you. And I also want to say, you are a group of leaders. Talk to each other. Ask each other for help as well, you know, because sometimes you have a fellow principal, fellow headmaster or headmistress in the group who are doing some things very successfully in their school, and you can learn from them as well. Don't be shy to reach out to them and ask them to explain something again, to help you, because at the end of the day, it's all about the students, right? It's about the success of your school and of your country in the future. Yeah, so thank you for that feedback. Anybody else? Let's take the last comment or question. Mr. Salem?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, yes.
First of all, I thank you for the best presentation you've done. for the previous lesson, I didn't attend due to unavoidable circumstances, but I believe we learn from mistakes, we learn from weaknesses that we have counted around. And inshallah, I promise we shall make some changes where necessary. And please, I thank you for good cooperation with Madam Hawa in rate training. And I believe we shall improve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I have to tell you, I'm so happy to see so many of you here because we've done this is our 4th session, and this is the first time that we've had so many of you present. So we are very, very pleased. Really makes me very happy to see you all here, and that, we know that this is a good opportunity for you to learn. So thank you for taking that leadership and for making the time and for just prioritizing this for you, for your school today, because, I really appreciate that. Can I ask, is it possible for you to just switch on your cameras just for like, Mr. Hashim, I see your hand is up, and Mr. Hamisi, do you want to ask questions? I see some raised hands. Or was it just an accident?
Okay, madam.
Yes, Mr. Mujahid, you have something?
Of course, madam. My concern is just to appreciate your good.
I'm sorry, it's not very clear. You're breaking up.
Okay, I'm saying that your presentation of is good and very concise. We appreciate that the what you have contributed to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mock. You can always write in the chat box.
So we bring changes in our school life.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're breaking up, so I don't think we can hear, but you can write in the chat box if you don't mind. Okay, can I ask, can you quickly switch on your camera? So, Mr. Combo, your hand is raised. Do you have something?
Yes, I have something to share with the leaders. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's a wonderful session, as all of you have been sharing the feedback to Madam. I'm happy to see a lot of leaders in front of my computer. A thing I want to share with you all is that those teachers or the leaders whom we are having a session with you, some of you are not attending, and you are not even saying anything. So please, all what Madam is presenting, it's like she has repeated a lot of things we are doing together with some of you. So if you could use such kind of an opportunity, it could give you a wider understanding of these things that you can do much better in our school. So I would like you to advise my brothers that let's see this as an opportunity where we can never find it that simple. So whatever a little contribution is being shared to you, please grab it, use it for the better of yourself, the school, and the children as well. So please, those leaders in those small group we have, in which we are supporting the leaders, make your all possible means to attend the session, do the action assigned to you. We'll support you. In the end, we all benefit from this fruitful session. This is what, Madam, I want to share to the leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Combo. And Mr. Combo is doing a great job in Madam Ajabu in supporting the leaders, right? But as Mr. Combo said, there are some people who are not pulling their weight. So I hope after this session, you will realize that, you have this opportunity that is sponsored by NOMA Foundation, and that you can do something, you can get learning for free. I mean, that is a wonderful opportunity for you. And opportunity knocks only once, right? So it's up to you. I don't know, in South Africa, we say you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. I don't know what you say in Swahili. I'm sure you have the same saying in Swahili, right? We cannot make you do it. It's up to you to take that step and to make use of this opportunity. Madam Majabu has a group of school leaders that she's working with, and sometimes it's difficult. Not everybody's attending, not doing the little bit of action plans. And as Mr. Combo said, if you've attended, if this is the 4th time you are here, you will have heard us say many of the same things over and over. So let's hope that next time we see the same number of people present. We have one more session like this for all the NAMA school leaders, and there are 3 or 4 more sessions with your individual coaches. So I think Mr. Combo did the 5th session with his group, and he is also helping Madam Samu at the moment, who is unfortunately not able to do the training. But please join in and ask in your WhatsApp groups, and nobody's going to say to you, oh, that's a silly question. We will always appreciate your questions and your requests for help. So quickly switch on your camera so that we can take a nice picture of everybody who is here. We'll just take a minute or 2, and then we will switch it off again so that it doesn't take too much data. Okay. Let me just put it there. Oh, beautiful. All right. Mr. Azizi, Mr. Hemed, Mr. Hashim, please can you switch on? Mr. Mark, Mohammed Hassan, Hashim Idrisa, can you switch on your cameras so we can take a picture? Or maybe you just left your computer on and you are going to have some tea there in the kitchen. Okay, are you ready? Make your nicest smile. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Maybe before, Madam, we close the session, I'd like to know Ali Suleiman is from which school? And also, Mohammed Zomboko and the Maxmed Ali. I didn't manage to. Also, Hemedi Saif Swaleh.
Just please, can you type in the chat box who you are? Some people have just.
Ali Suleiman from Kuzo. Ali Suleiman from Kuzo Islamic.
Kuzo Islamic. Okay.
Abdallah Yusuf?
Yes.
Abdallah Yusuf is from which school?
Abdallah Yusuf?
I'm coming from Kuzo Islamic Secondary School.
Also Kuzo.
Yeah.
Okay.
From
Excellent.
Kuzo Islamic Secondary School.
Okay.
Yes,
Musa Idi?
Kuzo Secondary School.
Musa Idi?
Ibn Jasser.
Musa Idi Ibn Jasser. And okay. Hemedi Saif?
Also Ibn Jasser.
Hemedi Saif Ibn Jasser.
Jasser.
Hamed Saif.
From Ibn Jasser.
Ibn Jasser, okay. And the Maxmed Ali?
Al Hidayah Islamic Schools.
Al Hidayah.
And switch the camera. Hataonekani.
Okay. The one missing is Hussein Bakari?
From Al Hijra. Pangani.
Al Hijra.
Okay.
Okay, have you got them all?
Yes. Except those who are written in techno. I have okay. Except one tech.
You can also look at the I've copied the the chat box for you, Mr. Seleman. So you also see names there. So you can
Okay,
maybe
yeah,
just
yeah.
double check from there. Okay, so
Okay,
that's
fine.
it. I think what you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do is you can try to do the quiz again and see if you have improved this time around. If your scores have improved, I will share the link. The link is in the presentation, so you can just try it again in the presentation and see if your score has improved. And thank you very much for organizing the session, letting people know to NICE in Tanzania, Mr. Seleman, and also to Mr. Combo for attending. I know you're not a normal school leader, but you're just so important as well because you are a trainer and a master coach and an assessor. So thank you, Madam Ajabu. I think she's now left us, but oh no, she's still there. Thank you, Madam Ajabu, for being here and for the important role you are playing also as a master coach and assessor. So these are important people for you to learn from. And very nice to see all of you. Have a good Sunday and please take care. COVID is spreading in Africa and be safe, be careful. We don't want you to get sick. So take care and thank you for your time. It's lovely to see all of you here today. All right. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Kwaheri.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye-bye.
very
I will
much.
share the recording.
Thank
Thank you.
you, madam.
Very.
Bye-bye.